Okay, chapter 16. Public choices. Let me get the sharing up here. Public choices, public goods, and health care. All right, real quick, we're going to put some objectives up here. And let's talk about a public choice. All right, what is a public choice? When we talk about public choices, what are we speaking of?
A decision that has consequences for many people and perhaps for an entire society.
A decision that has consequences for many people and perhaps an entire society. Examples of public choices include, now let's back up, think about this. A decision that has consequences for many people and perhaps an entire society. What's a private good?
That'd be a choice that's limited to the individual making the decision.
Limited choices to those who are making the decisions. Let me have you think about it this way. In a private good, let's think of a private good. Tesla and, no, let's not use that. Let's use Coke and Pepsi. Coke and Pepsi. We just looked at an example of these two. We said they were direct competitors. They both compete, but if I ask, if you're a Coke drinker, raise your hand. Do we have any Pepsi drinkers?
We're north here. What's wrong with you?
All right, and we've got ladies here who are raising their hands for Pepsi. So interesting. I think we had 1, 2, 3, 4. Kansas City, which one were you?
Coke.
Coke. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like everyone but 2. All right, but Coke and Pepsi, that encompassed everyone in the room. Those two companies competing for your consumption. So we said a public good is a decision that has consequences for many people and perhaps an entire society. There is no ribald consumption here. So we say a private good is one where there's rival consumption. Public goods, we are not going to have rival consumption. It's free to everyone. All right, who's going to offer public? Who's going to distribute and who's going to oversee? Who's going to offer public goods? Who's going to regulate this market? Who's that? Government. Specifically, who within the government? When we speak of government, who are we referring to? Well, the president. Senators, representatives, both on the federal and state level, local governments. How do these individuals get in office? We vote them in. All right, so politicians and political leaders, senior public servants, all of these individuals, we vote them in and we put them in positions where they make decisions about price and quantity, regulation. Right now we're talking about taxes. International trade, we've seen that come up in the last few months. Environmental participation in environmental measures. We've even talked about international trade. Okay, but these individuals, we put them in office. Okay, why does government exist?
Our government exists
Yeah, why do governments exist?
to to create law and order and have processes to delegate things.
Okay, create law and order. Let's expand that and say regulate and maintain property rights. So the rights that we're entitled to.
Allocating resources.
Allocating scarce resources. I'll just add that word in. Good job. Redistributing income and wealth through taxing authorities, through other various subsidies and government distributions. Replacing markets with government resource allocations decisions. Okay, government failure. We'll define government failure as a situation where governments are at an inefficiency. How can a government go toward failure? What would make us say that a government was in failure?
A nation trillions of dollars in debt.
A nation that is trillions of dollars in debt. That could be a specific example, but we're going to say over provision or under provisions. And obviously, do we say we're in debt because of over provisions? We spent too much. Okay, so we just affirm we vote politicians and bureaucrats. We put them in place. Who else is going to help us allocate these public goods? Firms. All right, so we've got voters, bureaucrats, politicians. All three of those are going to be guided by their decisions in redistribution. Firms also play an important element. All right, here's where we're going to pick up. Let's kind of look at a distribution. All right, in the political marketplace, voters express their demand via votes, and voters express their demand for policies via capital campaign contributions. Okay, now we just came off last year, presidential campaign. And every year, we hear talk of how much money is spent on political campaigns and how each 4 years we seem to reach new levels. What you should just be reserved though, as large federal campaigns, we start to see these campaigns take on pretty we'll just say a theatrical side and a lavish style, not only on the federal, but you might see it even within your state and local governments. We respond though to political campaigns. Based off of those campaigns, we get a reaction, and that reaction can influence our vote. Now, politicians express their supply of policies with proposals they hope will attract votes. What's the agenda that our president ran on? What were some proposals that he put out that might have led to him winning?
The wall.
Put America first.
Make America great again.
Make America great again. Look out for our own self-interest first. Lower taxes. Repeal the Affordable Care Act. That was a platform that gathered and a majority of Americans responded to that put him in office. Now, bureaucrats. Here, bureaucrats are going to try to get the biggest possible budget for their department. These are going to provide public goods and services. So when we talk about political equilibrium, we're going to say equilibrium where the choices of voters, firms, politicians, and bureaucrats are compatible. Now, when we go back to these bureaucrats too, we could have a conversation about lobbying firms. But no, when I'm talking about lobbyists, I could even put them right here. What is a public good? Well, we said city police departments. Is that a public good?
Yes.
What about fish in the Atlantic Ocean?
No.
I hear yes and no.
No. It would be yes and no.
Well, now, how can we be yes and no? Whoever said that.
Sure, Cleveland Johnson said that.
Yeah, how can we be yes and no?
I'd say yes to help us eat and stuff, and no, it can be also the fish can be harmful to us and be not no good to eat. So
All right, who says it is a public good?
but overall fish for that
Fish in the Atlantic Ocean, is it a public good?
yes.
All right, raise your hands if you think it's a public good. Who says it's a private good?
It's a public good.
For the majority, it's a public good, but you imagine there's private.
I want to see if I have any leaders that are going to say it's a private good.
Well, I would say it depends on what your interest is. If you're
Right.
a citizen, you would probably see it as a public good, but if you're a firm looking to enter that market, I think your argument would be that it's private.
If I go to the Atlantic Ocean and I throw my line in the water and I catch Jaws on the other end and I reel Jaws in, and Jaws is now sitting on the beach and I'm having my picture made with him, deciding what I'm going to do with him. Can any of you go out there and catch Jaws? Let's think about air. Is air a public good? And I'm talking air.
Yes.
All right, now think about, I'm trying to think, I never took a meteorology course and didn't take but a few hours of science, but good old Midwestern air we're breathing now. When I just took that breath of air in, I breathed in oxygen. What did I blow out?
Carbon dioxide?
Carbon dioxide. When I took that breath of oxygen, is it still around for you all to take?
No.
All right, so what I'm showing you here is, just in economics, thus far, we've talked about supply and demand. We've talked about setting this in corporate settings. We've talked about decision making. But until now, and I've always used it as an example of two products, like two specific tangible products. You can see where within economics, we study. All of these questions are going to be answered through economics. Economists are going to be concerned with the questions that I just asked you. When we try to decide whether or not a good is public or not, we want to determine whether or not they can be excludable and rival or non-rival. So excludable or non-excludable.
Is that something like I was saying?
No, I'm saying if I caught that fish and I reel it in, you're excluded from catching that same fish.
Oh, okay.
Now, I might have been pressing the boundary when I used the air. We'll leave that one for your own personal interpretation. I do know that if I look at a pure black and white decision here, I take that breath of air, it's gone, and I don't return it. So you're excluded. I could argue from an economics point of view, you are excluded from taking that same breath of air. So excludable. And if only the people who can pay for it are able to enjoy its benefits. All right, even if we wanted to use air, we're all right now located in the Midwest, where we have pretty good, now I'm not talking allergies, but we have pretty good air quality compared to other parts of the United States and definitely other parts of the world. There's areas in China that would gladly swap oxygen levels and breathe air quality with you. Why don't those individuals just pack up and move out of China? Okay, we could say that they are being excluded. All right, now, but security services, East Point seafood fish and a Coldplay concerts are definitely examples. If you don't have the money to pay for security services, eat out, or go to a concert, and we were talking just earlier here in small talk about the cost of attending events, I think they're excluding more and more. Arrival. If one person's use of it decreases the quantity available for someone else. That just jumped a lot of slides. So what's the example of a private or a rival good?
Like leftovers,
Like leftovers, illustrate.
like the more leftovers I eat, the less leftovers for everybody else.
All right, a Brinks truck can't deliver cash to 2 banks at the same time. The fish can only be consumed once. So if I consume it and it decreases the amount available for anyone else to consume, that's how we define if it's rival. A good is non-rival if one person's use of it does not decrease the quantity available for someone else. The services of the LA Police Department in a concert on network television are non-rival. Ted Turner said, we're going to run television network 365 days a year, 24 hours a day to the end of time. The last newscast of CNN would be, and he had some theory on what it was going to be, but it was basically the world was over. That was going to be the last sign off. So you can log in and watch 24-hour cable TV. It's not going to take it away if I want to log in and watch it.
What do you want to be like if, like, 4 hours of the day, there's just no TV? Like, they started regulating it, and like from 2 p.m. to like 6 p.m., no TV.
I could handle that. Question was, what would happen if we regulated television consumption? I'll tell you, yes, some people would. I always tell this story though on my honeymoon where traveled overseas, got over there. I remember calling my mom and saying, I've arrived. My phone is going off. I'm not going to pick it back up. If you need me, call the hotel. My wife called her mom, said the same thing, and I did not pick. And I was in a country where I didn't speak the native language, so I couldn't watch anything on TV. Even CNN, which was there, was broadcast in French. I couldn't speak French. And I went 2 weeks. Now, I could look at pictures and tell if something was good or bad. I could look at the newspaper headlines and tell if something was good or bad, but I couldn't read anything. I can tell you, I don't think I ever came back more refreshed. And when I came back, I realized that the world was still here, and I walked right back in my office, and my role just continued. But to be completely deplugged for 2 weeks, if you ever get an opportunity, do it. I never thought I would, and I've not had one since then, but very good time. So,
Are you a little busier now than when you first got married though? You think it'd be as easy for you to?
the question is, guys, are y'all married?
Yes.
She just asked, am I busier now that I got married?
I meant with like your business. I meant with like your business. Like, I didn't know if you like had started your business and then you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know if like if you could turn off your business life this point in time and take 2 weeks off your business life and not have like a small breakdown. Just because I see you day in and day out, and I feel like if you were to like just turn off your cell phone now for 2 weeks, I feel like it'd be really hard for you.
Well, what I enjoyed is, this was a one-time event when I did it, and just assuring that everything, as long as the work was still being done, yes, I could. So, assuming there was no sacrifices there. I mean, when I come home at night right now, I take my cell phone and I put it up, and I don't pick it back up. I mean, I do, granted, even after tonight, I won't get home until 8:30, 9 o'clock, but for the last 2 or 3 hours I'm up, I don't look at one. All right, so we talked about excludable, talked about rival. All right, a fourfold classification. A private good, we said, is both rival and excludable. A public good, both non-rival and non-excludable. So let that be your guide in distinguishing whether or not a good is private or public. National defense is the best example of a public good. Common resources, rival and non-excludable. So, fish are a common resource. Rival because a fish taken by one person isn't available for anyone else. Whether or not they are non-excludable, well, could you prevent me from catching them? I mean, certain animals are put on species lists, but could you stop me from sneaking and dropping a line in the Atlantic Ocean? No. I could at least, you could try, but if I was really wanting to catch jaws, I could find a way to get in there. Common resources are rival and non-excludable. A natural monopoly good is non-rival and excludable. And let's look at figure 16.2. Private goods that are rival. Food and drink, car, your house. Common resources that are rival. Fish, the atmosphere, national parks. Non-rival natural monopoly goods, internet, cable television, bridge or a tunnel. What else might we be able to put in these boxes? We say, let's paraphrase, a private good is rival and excludable. You must pay for it to use it, and only you can enjoy it if you pay for it.
Like a pool?
A pool. A public good is non-rival and non-excludable. You and everyone else can enjoy it without paying for it.
Dog park. Feel free, dog park.
All right, a park. A common resource is rival but non-excludable. So is rival but non-excludable.
Things and food.
Do what?
Trying to do other things than food. Would like you buying a car?
Just look at this figure.
Oh, I was trying to come up with new ones.
Yeah, so what else could we put in there?
For food, you could do like organic or just natural food. Like you go in a grocery store, there's organic fruit and non-organic. Obviously, organic's more expensive.
Okay, organic food. A good that is non-rival but excludable is produced by a natural monopoly. All right, things our government buys. Other things governments buy, we say national defense, protection, construction, maintaining infrastructure. They are non-rival and non-excludable. But what about healthcare and education? All right, so let's talk about healthcare. All right, healthcare. We'll break it down into two goods. So when I refer to healthcare, I'm going to be talking about healthcare services and more on, probably on other people's minds, healthcare insurance. Right now, we say that the government provides both goods. Now, what if these were left to the market alone? And we're going to go through and try to answer these questions. Would they be efficient? Would they be inefficient, underprovided, and unfairly distributed? Okay, our government view, and up to this point, has been that they would be inefficient. Now, I'm still speaking that the Affordable Care Act, as of right now, is still in place. And so I'll be speaking as terms under the Affordable Care Act. And our government said that the market was inefficient. What about education? Do governments provide education? Absolutely. Why do they do that?
Because of external benefits, apparently.
All right, because of external benefits. What's an external benefit? Specifically, what's an external benefit of having an educated society?
People can read.
It circles
And,
back.
right?
People can read.
Everybody can read.
We talked about, we opened this week up with looking at jobless claims and said that one of the primary reasons, according to the BLS, was that currently 6 million jobs remain unfilled. And their theory was it was because of a shortage in critical skills that were needed to fill those roles. Okay, so everyone would benefit from a more educated society. Now, Why don't we just give it to everyone? Why don't we just say, here it is, it's free. You don't have to pay anything.
Because if we didn't have people pay for it, there wouldn't be funding to keep doing it, right?
If we didn't have people to pay for it, there wouldn't be funding to continue doing it.
Like, you're not getting any money for books. Your books are eventually just gonna like fall apart. And
All right, let me introduce you to a free rider problem. What's a free rider? And I'm not talking about your friend that you hang out with.
Someone who gains an advantage or benefit without paying at a cost.
Someone who enjoys the benefits of a good or service, you are correct, without having to bear the cost of it. Because no one can be excluded from the benefits of a public good. Remember that. Everyone has an incentive to the free ride. So when we talk about distributing public goods, we create a free rider dilemma. Now, the value of a private good is the maximum amount that what? Individuals are going to pay for it. What's the value of a public good?
Maximum amount that all people are willing to pay for one more unit of it.
The maximum amount that all of the people are willing to pay one more unit of it. And to calculate the value placed on a public good, let's look at marginal social benefits. All right, total benefit, the dollar value that a person places on a given quantity of a good. And the greater the quantity of a good, the larger the person's total benefit. Marginal benefit, remember, increase in total benefit that results from a 1 unit increase in the quantity of that good. And the marginal benefit of a public good diminishes with the quantity of the good being provided. If you'll look at figure 16.3. And let me get this up on the board. So here in 16.3, part A is going to show us Lisa's marginal benefit, and part B is going to show us Max's marginal benefit. What you'll observe that the marginal social benefit at each quantity of the public good is the sum of the marginal benefits of all individuals. The marginal benefit curve for Lisa, we'll call it MBL, MB subscript L, and for Max, MB subscript M. So the marginal benefit, we said, is the sum, the maximum social benefit, the maximum social benefit is the sum of the marginal benefits of all members of the society. And this is what we said right here. Now what we can look at is the society's marginal social curve. And the marginal social cost of a public good is determined in the same way that we do for a private good. Efficient quantity of a public good is the quantity at which marginal social benefit equals marginal social cost. So we define it as the same way we did with a private good. And in figure 16.4, we're going to see the efficient quantity of a public good. So right here, anything less than 3 airplanes, marginal social benefit is greater than marginal social cost. And we would say that resources could be used more efficiently. More than 3 airplanes. Marginal social cost exceeds marginal social benefit. Resources could be used more efficiently with less airplanes being provided. So right here at our intersection of marginal social cost and marginal social benefit, do we say these public goods are being used efficiently? Inside of private production, we would produce 0 planes. All right, if a private firm tried to produce and sell a public good, would anyone buy it? No, you can get it free anyway. The free rider problem results in too little of the good thing being produced by a private firm. And you wouldn't pay for it because, again, you would get it for free. Now, how does our government receive income? How do they get receipts?
Through taxation?
Through taxation. So governments can tax all consumers of the public good and force everyone to pay for its provision. Public provision can overcome the free rider problem. And I would insert can overcome the free rider problem. If 2 political parties compete, each is driven to propose the efficient quantity of a public good. You know, think right now with taxes. You know, what is the efficient amount? What is the efficient rate in which income producing individuals should have to pay taxes? All right, so if we had 2 parties, hope and fears. If hope produces 2 airplanes and fear proposes to produce 4, what's going to happen in the voters? How are they going to respond? Voters are equally unhappy. So if fear proposes 4 and hope produces 2, depends on where preferences are. What happens if hope increases the number of airplanes to 3? We say if she increases to 3, she will win the election. If fear is still proposing 4. If fear decreases the number of airplanes to 3, it will win the election if hope continues to only propose 2. And remember, we're looking at 3 because what happens at the number 3? If I supply 3 airplanes, I'm efficient because that is the intersection of my marginal social cost and marginal social benefit curves. If both decided they were going to propose 3 airplanes, we would say they would split the vote. And remember, we assumed they agreed on everything else. Okay, because we know politicians want to appeal to the largest number of voters, We'll introduce the principle of minimum differentiation, which is the tendency for competitors to make themselves similar so as to appeal to the maximum number of clients. You think politicians really do that? I think we're more well-informed. The same principle applies to competing firms such as McDonald's and Burger King. I paused the recording for a second because I got to share this with you.